Hello, I am Lise Colucci, and I am one of the life coaches at queenbeing.com, where we help you to discover, understand, and overcome narcissistic abuse in toxic relationships. And hello, welcome to everyone. And let's see, I'm going to wait for this to not be crazy. I see people are joining me now. Hello, hello. How is everyone today? Hi, Nikki. Hello, Michael John. You're trying to stay cool. Is it really hot there? What's the temperature out there? Oh, do I want to even know? How is everyone else doing today? And I'm just waiting for it to stop its crazy delay here, and then we'll get started. Is it doing it? Not yet. Okay. There we go. Hello. So today, let's talk about the narcissist and the mask. The mask and mirroring. How do they put these masks on? Why do they wear a mask? I mean, we know why, but let's talk about it. And I'm just going to read something real quick, which is a question that I had from Erica, who gave me permission to use her name and ask this question. She said, "I'm a nice, kind person. I truly thought he was a nice, kind person. How could I have been so wrong?" The answer to that is that he wore a mask. He was mirroring off of your behavior, and he was wearing a mask. What happens with a narcissist when they meet people? Well, let's talk about what happens with you and I when we meet people. What do we try to do? We try to be our authentic self as best we can, right? So say you're meeting someone new. Let's just take it as a dating situation, since many of our narcissistic abusers are, not all of them, some of them are parents and some of them are family or people at work, but many of us have had the experience of having a partner who is a narcissist. So say you're meeting someone new. Your aim, hello, Crystal, when you meet someone new is what? To show them who you are, to meet this person who is being honestly themselves, right? You're trying to, personally, trying to be as honest as I can so that what I'm presenting is who I am. So there's no surprises along the way, there's always surprises, but you know what I mean? So there's not this flip in personality and suddenly someone different in front of them, so that they know who I am, so they can make a judgment for their life if who I am is what they want around them, right? That's how I am when I meet people. I don't know how other people are, probably pretty similar, where they're just maybe living in their little bit of their own discomfort and their own anxieties and whatever, but they're kind of being themselves, right? There's no ulterior motive. You're just trying to get to know someone. With a narcissist, you have someone who is looking and reading and watching your every move so that they can mold their personality to shape what they think you need them to be, what they think you want them to be. So they're basically learning you so they can craft a mask to wear in front of you. And they do it quickly. So they might find out things about you, or watch the way you move, or look for your insecurities, look for your vulnerabilities. They'll find one or two things to find their way in. This is part of the grooming process, and they start to mirror your behavior. So if you like skiing, they like skiing. Or maybe they've never been skiing, but oh my gosh, their whole life they've dreamt of being a skier. And so blah, blah, blah. And if you really knew that person, they hate the snow. You know what I mean? So, or if you have children, suddenly they love children, when in fact, if you really knew that person, they could care less. Well, they're narcissists, so we know that. But you know what I mean? Like, they don't actually like the things they say they like. They're just mirroring it, and then they're mirroring it in a way that shows an enthusiastic, excitement about it, so that you think they are something they're not. They're wearing a mask. They're piecing it together slowly, actually rather quickly, but in pieces, and applying it to themselves so that you believe they are something that they're not, in order to gain your supply, in order to get you hooked on them. What's the difference between mirroring and someone that is, James is asking, what's the difference in mirroring and someone that is up to trying things they haven't done before? Well, the difference is how and why. We all want to try. I want to try new things, and someone has something interesting. I think, oh, that's interesting. What's that like? I want to do that. Take me. Let's do it. Or I think, oh, I don't think I could do that, but I'd be up to try, whatever. But the difference is the intent. Our intent is not to do it so the person will like us, so to speak, so that they will think we're something we're not. If you're interested in something new and you want to try it and they're up for trying, you're open to try new things, that's totally different than mirroring behaviors. It's not just about the behaviors. As Erica asked about, she thought they were nice because they were nice. Because what they were doing when they met her, most likely, her narcissist most likely was watching her behavior, the way she presents herself, her very kind nature, her sweetness, and they were mirroring it right back to her. Okay? And they were doing it with one intent, to use her and to make her think they're something they're not. Okay, what they do is, wait, let me read this real quick. In one, he doesn't know who he would be if I hadn't been in his life. And a lot of telling me what to feel, listen to your heart, blah, 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 right? Oh, I missed the first part. No. That what you were talking about. Okay. All right. So what they do with the applying and the creation of the mask. See, this is how they can get new supply kind of so easily, and also how they can seem to shapeshift and change for the new supply. How they can seem like, well, he didn't do those things for me, but suddenly he does them for her, or she doesn't do this for me and now she'll do it for him. Because what they're doing is they're mirroring and putting on a mask for that other person, because it's that person's need and it's that person's personality or whatever that they're applying to themselves. And so that's why they can, like, if you ever notice they look different around different people, like extremely different, then this is what they're doing. Okay, they're not a genuine personality. My understanding is a narcissist does not have a fully formed personality. What they have is fragmented half personalities all mushed into one personality, because what they do is apply masks to every situation. And so there's never a true authentic personality underneath it. It's a delusional way of seeing the world that they believe that their self and their actual authentic nature and the way they behave is created, rather than just do you know what I'm saying? Like, they think they can control all of it. They can put on a mask. And so underneath it, you could just keep pulling them off. And what's underneath it is just this miserable person, right? So what they will do is, and I have heard this firsthand, so I'm not making this part up. What they will do is watch for what a person wants to see. They will pay attention. They have oftentimes, especially very intelligent or more emotionally driven ones, the kind that are more covert and vulnerable and really need to have that what looks like connection to you, but is really just supply. They will watch how you behave, and they have a very good radar for this. And they will listen for cues that tell them then how to respond. What they're looking to do is create an impression. They're looking to create a first or second, very early on impression, so that you believe that's who they are. And through that, they start thickening the mask, and they start listening for more information to keep the mask in place. And they start building a personality, behavioral personality, like the one that suits you, that mask. They start building it over the grooming process so that you believe that's who that person is. The reason they're doing it is they don't want you to see who they really are. Because if you see who they really are, or who they would be kind of naturally, which there isn't really that, which I just kind of explained, but they're kind of, they have that, you'd see the devaluing, irritated, hates themselves, kind of hates the world person that's underneath it if you didn't see the mask. And they're building all of this, trying to do it through first and second and third impressions early on, so that that impression is strong enough that by the time you believe it, you're hooked. Okay, because most of us, especially if we haven't learned how to go about meeting people after a toxic person, like when we're just innocently kind of going through this, most of us, we meet someone, my gosh, they're mirroring, they're my soulmate, right? That's instantaneous. I felt connection. I felt they understood me. Well, are you feeling it, or are you perceiving it based on what that person's telling you? There's a difference, okay? And hi, butterfly mama. And if you pay attention and you think back, you were falling for them, falling for the narcissist before you even knew who they were. That's what I'm getting at. And it's the mistake we make when we live with our hearts instead of combining it with our heads, right? And slowing down and paying attention. So that's what they do. They put the mask on intentionally. They create a version of themselves that you want to see based on the information that they're getting from watching you, listening to you, and all of that, in order to get you to basically fall in love with them. So then, because they know it works. Okay. And then what about after that? Well, then they start the devaluing, but that takes its time too. So, hi, Shannon. So anybody have anything they want to talk about with the narcissist and the mask, or anything else you want to talk about today? Otherwise, it'll be a shorty, because I don't have a whole lot to say about this other than this is what we got to watch for. And this is what they're doing all the time. And this is why when they are with new supply, there is no reason to think in your mind that it has anything to do with you, why they're doing something that they didn't do for you, for someone else. All they're doing is wearing a mask and grooming that other person to fall under a spell of that mask. And they deliberately do it. Okay. They meet people and deliberately do not let themselves be seen. They show you what they want you to see. And that's it. It's totally fake. Yeah, I fell for the fake for 21 years. Ugh, it's really hard, because if you get used to that when you're with someone, that becomes who they are, right? It's how they operate. Shannon says mine did that. He said he was into snowboarding, biking, etc. Then when I tried to do that with him, he was super negative and basically hated all of it. Yep. They wait till they devalue you, right? And that's when they start hating the stuff. They'll do it with subtle things. They'll do it with, the point is, it's not so much the doing, like what they'll go do. It's how they behave. They basically mold their whole personality to suit another person's personality. And on some level, we all do that a little bit, right? Because it's interesting to take on someone else's way of seeing things. That's kind of cool. It's sharing. But this is different. This is a deliberate deception to make someone believe you are something you're not, so that your first impression of them, your first take, your second take, your third take is one based on a lie, or sometimes not a lie, but a partial truth. Because to a narcissist, the action and the exterior way that you behave is that's how they present, that's personality to them. Okay, it's not the deeper inner feelings mixed with how we behave. To them, it's the putting on of these false personalities. So, gosh, mine pretended to like sports and take part in hockey and football pools at work, pretended to like vampire role playing to fit in with the group in college. This is all coming back, right? Yeah. And think about that on the level of deep connection. You're talking to someone new and you get into a conversation about something that's important to you. Doesn't matter what. Let's say your job. Okay. And you're talking about your job and you're talking about why you love your job. And I love my job because I get to help people and I get to talk to people all day long, and people's stories are so fascinating. And I just really feel for people's, what they've gone through. And I see so much potential in people and I just love them. I mean, this is what I could say, right? And I just, want them to see how great they are. But I want them to see themselves through the eyes I'm seeing them with, which is how amazing they are when they've had all this hurt. Now, take a narcissist hearing that and picture them sympathizing, so to speak. and talking about how, oh, that's amazing. Yeah, I totally relate. And, mirroring that back to me. Now imagine how hard it would be for me to see them if I wasn't really looking, right? So like Erica asked to begin with, she's a nice person. She was just out there presenting herself as she is, a nice person. She's kind. She's a sweetie, right? She's genuine. And so when someone's mirroring back her kindness and her generosity and her, of course she believes it, unless she's looking for all the other red flags, right? So it's not just the act. I mean, seeing it in things like the role playing and the sports is like the obvious stuff. It's the little tiny ways that they can get into our psyche. They get in your head, right? And they take it what they need, and then they go and they put it on like an outfit, right? And then they present it back to you. Who doesn't want a mirror, right? Who doesn't want a mirror? We all want it. It's natural human behavior to mirror back and forth. And when you have a positive mirror, it's an amazing experience. When you have someone in your life that mirrors to you the beautiful things inside of you through their actions of being a beautiful person, it's amazing. Okay, that kind of connection. So it's like mirroring itself is not the problem. It's doing it deliberately to manipulate someone into a relationship with you. Okay, that's and to manipulate someone to have a belief about you that's not true. That's the part that's so toxic. I feel like what happened to me in reverse, where I started taking his negative traits on. Oh yeah, that happens too. That happens a little later on, right? We don't do that. I'm talking about like first meeting, very first meeting, very early on. This goes on. This is the part of the grooming process. And then, yes, absolutely, we do start to take on the negative traits, because mirroring is a natural human behavior. It is. That's why it's so important after abuse, when you're going out there and you're seeking friends, relationships, even with family members, when you're seeking who you want to be around you, that you actually make a choice. That person who is around you is someone that feeds back on your own positivity. Otherwise, they need to stay way on the outer circles or farther beyond in your realm of, what you let close to your heart. Because otherwise, or close to your world, really, because otherwise we start mirroring the things we don't want to have in ourselves either. So, okay. So let's see. Felt so perfect because we fell in love with ourselves. Yep. And honestly, that is, if you do that intentionally, I think that's beautiful. When you do it with a narcissist, you're doing it with a fake, someone not even being real, right? They're not, we know that they can't be accountable. We know that they can't take responsibility for their own emotions. So when you're meeting them, what am I trying to say here? They're relying on you to set the tone. And then they're taking that tone and they're mirroring it back. It's really so deceptive. And so think about this is how I think of it in my head. If you're going to a really, really important job interview, you can do that job. You just don't like interviewing. You hate interviewing. It's a stuffy panel of very prestigious people sitting in front of you, and you're kind of a laid back person, naturally, but you're like the perfect candidate for that job, and you could totally, take over with that job and do really amazing things for that company, whatever. But the interview is going to be really hard. Of course you put on a mask and you go in there. You don't go in there like, hey man, I got it. It's cool. I can totally do this. Because they're not going to hire you unless that's what they're looking for. But most people will put on a mask, right, to go in there and present themselves the way they think that company image is, right? You don't just walk in. But that's what a narcissist is doing in their interpersonal relationships on purpose, to deceive you into believing they are something that's good for your life. Right? Okay. And that way you're hooked. That way how could you not fall for someone who is perfect for your life, who's showing you how amazing they could be in your life, right? Unless you are looking for the other red flags for a while. When we're around long enough to that exchange does happen, right? The negative picking up. That's a tough one to work through and not feel bad about, isn't it? When you take on their negative, but honestly, it happens to everybody. It happens to everyone in all relationships. I think I've shared this before, says Crystal, but my roommate in college told me he was trying to be just like me. I had no clue what she meant. Now I do. How could she see that though? Because she was probably a person like I am. I can see these things. I can't see it when it's happening to me, obviously, right? Or I can now, but couldn't. Because some people are really good at reading other people's intentions, and they have a very judging nature that can weigh what feels authentic and what feels artificial when it's not happening to them. Oftentimes, it's difficult when it's happening to them because what happens is your emotions get involved quickly. And this is the part where it's really hard when you meet new people, because we are big, open-hearted, feeling people most of the time, most of us, right? That's why they like us. So, but that piece, which is our strength, that beautiful, open-hearted, loving part of ourselves, is also a target for toxic people, right? We know this. So we don't want to close that off and not have this open heart, because then we're not being true to ourselves, right? So what do? You don't let yourself fall into your emotions for someone new before your head has a chance to catch up. That's the only way I can think to do it. If your head was watching, you would have seen like she saw. But because your heart was already open to that person and your emotions were telling you, this is so good, this is perfect, this is so great, he's amazing, your head didn't have a chance to catch up, right? So, but she was using her logic. She didn't love him. She didn't like him. She didn't care, right? She was just watching. So interesting. Anyway, absolutely. Some of the toxicity definitely rubbed off on me, says Michael John. And Fashion Family says, mine keeps trying to convince me I'm the abusive one. Oh yeah, I'm doing the low contact in a wheelchair. You are? You're in a wheelchair and doing low contact? But what do they say? They always do that. That's just projecting. That's just projecting that you're the abusive one. That's projecting and like a fearful attack before I'm attacked, totally typical narcissistic behavior to do that. Instead of taking accountability, you just turn the table and call the other person abusive. And frankly, a lot of stuff that happens within a toxic relationship could be considered abusive on both sides, as we're discovering here how we take on the negative traits and whatnot. But that doesn't make us abusive. It's reactionary. The problem lies in having a partner who can't have accountability and has no empathy. There is no two sides to that, because there's no way to have a normal, like, everyday conversation with someone like that after a while, let alone the deeper, more important ones in a relationship, right? Especially when there's trouble or struggles. So you can see that all they can do is protect, and all we can do is gray rock. Because if you react, you're playing into it, and there's the supply, right? Recently, that he never my ex and I used to cut a rug at every wedding. It was one of my favorite things about us as a couple. I have so much fun dancing, and he met with that. We danced so well together. He told me recently that he never enjoyed that. Of course, he wasn't enjoying himself with the way he danced, and had a big smile on his face. They can fake anything. And who knows if he's even lying or telling the truth about that? Doesn't matter, really. He's just being a jerk to say that to begin with. But, of course, yeah, never really liked that. Venusia, the word person is derived from Latin, where we originally referred to as a theatrical masks. We all wear masks, metaphorically speaking, to keep social acceptance. Okay, here's the difference, though. Of course we do. We're not just going to like grunt and point and, whatever's in our head. We have impulse control. We have social norms. We have behavioral, societal conditioning that has taught us how to behave. Right? We teach our children table manners. I mean, these are all masks. The mask I'm talking about is the creation of a personality that shifts from person to person, depending on who the narcissist is in front of, that is literally intentionally created in order to not please, but to influence the mind of that other person. It's not even done to please the person. Like, oh, a codependent type of person might wear a type of mask to please somebody. They don't really want to be driving all over the place, but they'll do it anyway. And they do it with a smile on their face, which, yes, is wearing a mask, right? But the difference is in the intent. They're not trying to, they might be doing it so the person is influenced to not dislike them, right? A narcissist does it to completely get into your head and manipulate your thoughts so that you believe that they are that other person. And it's very similar. But I mean, doing it codependently is fairly toxic too. We know this. That's why we try to heal that part, right? But a narcissist does it to groom you. But then what happens after that begins the love bomb, then the devalue cycle, right? Can't even say the word today. And then once that happens, you're already trauma bonded, blah, 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 and it goes, right? We know the story. So yes, you're right. It's totally something everybody does. However, the more authentically you try to meet another person, like, this is who I am. Of course, I've got social masks I'm wearing. I'm not going to like lay down at the table because I'm tired, but, well, I might, but other people shouldn't. But the more open and honest we present ourselves to the world, the less of that mask we're wearing, right? And if we're not, I just can't imagine the lengths they go to completely shift and mold their personality to present themselves as something that they're not, and how exhausting, yes, I almost cussed there, exhausting that must be to maintain. No wonder they start to devalue. They can't do it for long, right? How could you? Anyway, I'm going to keep going. Mine said, I can never forget the things you said to me. Meanwhile, he said so many crappy things to me. Oh, yes, because they're poor little feelings. It's all about how horrible you were to them. And yeah, yep, that's typical. Question from Angela. Hi. Can you give us a brief summary of your, my what? Which experience? I know you through Ange at have an idea of her narc bio. But oh, my narc story? Oh, yeah. I haven't starting to write it. Okay, so what do you want to know? My experience with narcissists is what you're asking, Angela? I'll wait for you to answer and then I'll start talking. I'm not going to give you the whole story here. I'll just give you bits. I'm writing it in pieces and I still have to, I'll try to get that part of it published up this week and get going with that. Because you're right. It is important for you guys to know where I come from too. And I think it does helps to hear all of our story. Yes, I know with narcs, it's completely different to do it with real evil motives. That's right. They do it with an evil motive. It's true. And it's an extreme. It's so basically, I think all of the behaviors that a narcissist does, all of these gaslighting, projecting, love bombing, devaluing, we all can do in pieces. All humans love bomb now and then. Have you never been love bombed by some really amazing friends who just like tell you how wonderful you are and to the point where you want to like shrink and run away? It's not love bombing to hurt you though. They're just bombing you with love, right? It's not done to manipulate you. It's done because they want to express all this goodness at you. It's always the intent. It's always the intent. Everybody gaslights now and then. We're in a society full of gaslighting, advertising, politics, all of it is full of gaslighting. We're told what to believe, and when we're told what we believe is and what we should believe something else. Just look at the fashion industry, look at anything that is telling you what to think, and you see, and there's gaslighting. So it's programmed into us to gaslight, I think. However, most of us attempt to be more honest and more accepting of other people. and listen to other people, right? So the gaslighting isn't as much from other people, and it's not done with an intent to avoid our own side of things. Okay, it's not to avoid accountability, which is why the narcissist does it. The whole reason they gaslight is to avoid accountability, to push the blame back on you, and in the process, it makes you feel crazy. Well, heck, then they've got another thing to call you crazy. So there you go. Yes, we all show our best when we try to impress someone. Right. Right. But if we are, the more, I believe, the more emotional intelligence we gain, the less we do that. Perhaps we show our best. We show our best, not the best we think that person wants us to have. Right? We show them who we are at our best. This is me at my best, whatever that is, right? For that person. But it's not, hey, this is me at my best when I would never be that best. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Okay, you got it. Yeah. And that's the difference. Instead, a narcissist will say, oh, they need me to be an authority on this, so I'm going to act like an authority on that. And that's what they do. And then from then on, that's how the relationships, it sets the tone for the relationship when you're first meeting them, right? Because it is that first impression and second and third and fourth impression, right? It's the beginning is, that's who we think we're getting involved with. If every single person that I have talked to has said something like, I wish it could be the way it was in the beginning. I wish they could be the person I thought they were from the day I met them, things like that. And you can see how this particular mask wearing in the beginning, where they are mirroring and grooming you, is like setting the tone for the whole thing. So sorry, my Wi-Fi cutting out. Missed your response. Oh, I was asking you, Angela, if you were asking for my story with narcissists. I didn't quite, either I read it wrong or I don't know. If you were asking for my, did like my own disclosure story of my story. Is that okay? Okay, so yeah, I can answer some of that. Let me finish this real quick and then I will do that. I was saying, Angela, that I have some of it. I'm starting to write it in pieces to publish. So I have a piece written already that I just need to get published. So I will pop it up hopefully very soon. No, not prying. You're allowed to ask. That's what I'm here for, right? I'll tell what I want and I won't what I don't, right? I'm a big girl. Yeah, but yes, I am in the process of writing pieces of it and writing, but I will tell you stuff here too. My parents just came. Hello, Iraq Freedom. Okay. My heart is broken, drained, and deflated. They are controlling me now. It's a long story. I'm sorry. Lots of self-care there, okay? After they go home, even now, taking breaths and taking some space. Yeah? Finding yourself so you're not lost in this. Oh, they left already? Okay. Then what can you do that feels like you? What feels like you and doesn't feel like their sticky, icky energy, right? Getting back to yourself while you're here. So there we go. Okay. Uh-oh, my dog's whining. She's sleeping. She's making dreams. She's having doggy dreams. So my story. Where do I start? Let's see. What do you want to know, Angela? Ask me, interview me. I don't know. Answering that without a prompt. Many years with a covert, toxic, vulnerable, what I talk about all the time. Many years with that. It was probably 2.5 to 3 years before I understood something was wrong. It was, and this is the super abbreviated version. Oh, thank you. Yes, ask me questions, then I can answer. What was my epiphany was, actually, I'm going to give it a super brief one because that's exactly what I wrote about. So I'll do that, and then I'll try to get that on to Queen Being like as soon as possible, so that maybe this weekend, so that you can see it. But it was after a super blowout, where you don't even know what happened. I mean, I'm not a fighter, right? I don't like I don't get into stuff, right? And the level of drama over the tiniest things to me would baffle me. And I thought I must be doing something wrong. Like it must be me because I don't know, I'm 46. Is it menopause or not? I was younger than that, but you know what I mean? Like in my early 40s, is it my hormone? You know, is it me? What the heck? Why is this so crazy? To the point where I was like speechless on the floor, sobbing, begging, you know, doing all the things that we do, and left because I was kicked out wasn't living there. I was kicked out of their home for being rude and so unkind and so hurtful to them. And I sat in the car thinking, I don't even know what I did. How could I be these things when I don't know? How? What's wrong with me? You know, like completely lost. Yeah, right. Kicked out you too. So completely lost. And I was questioning it only in so much as trying to question myself, because that's what a help. I mean, that's what like person with empathy does, right? We question ourselves. And I called a friend and hysterical and babbled something at her. And she said, go step by step. And I did. And I told her what happened. I don't remember even the whole thing right now. I mean, because it was so convoluted and bizarre. Anyway, within a few minutes, she said, that sounds like emotional abuse. And bam, it hit me. And then I remembered multiple times people telling me, it sounds like you're dealing with a narcissist, just briefly, randomly, just like had 2 therapists that I had gone to for different things, thinking that something was wrong with me, right? Tell me, well, that's what happens when you deal with a narcissist. Never did they like pull it out that was a problem, or they weren't very good, obviously, with what they were doing. However, I didn't listen because I thought, well, that's ridiculous. This person is a kind and giving, and they're so loving and affectionate, and you know, like this is good and that's good. That's ridiculous because I know what a narcissist is because I have known them. So anyway, I've known others in the past that are completely different, but when you meet one that's covert, that is this deeply, I'm actually surprised I'm saying all of this live, but I am, that is this deeply, totally wrapped up in the belief that they aren't what they are. You know what I'm saying? Like they're completely in denial. When you meet someone like that, and yet at the same time is applying all of these things that I'm talking about today, all of these manipulative tools that are very deliberate, you're, you know, I'm not stupid. Completely took me blindsided. So there you go. That's a little bit of it. Any other questions? The abuse amnesia keeps puncturing the reality until we get a lucky strike. Thanks for sharing and laughing my world. Right? It's that abuse amnesia. It is especially, okay, I'm an INFJ. Actually, I'm an INFJP. So I'm an X. I sit 50-50 on the P and the J. But when I'm in conflict, the judging side comes out. I don't fall into the P, I fall into the J side, and I start to weigh the situation, and I become very, very fair in a way, because I start looking at their side, my side, their side. The downfall of that is that I weighed the whole thing all the way through, right? I couldn't just see it for what it was because I could see both sides all the time. And so, yeah, it becomes not only abuse amnesia, but the way my personal personality style is, it becomes like a science experiment where you're trying to figure it out. You're continually trying to figure it out. I think that's why I figured so much out, right? I think it's to all of our benefit now, hopefully, and to my own, figuring it out was useful, but other people handle it differently. So anyway, that's what I got. Anything else? Any other questions? I'll answer them. It's their place. Okay, let's go back to Iraq. Freedom, enough of me. I'm in an eviction and they're letting me stay in their place. Now they're visiting. They're so cold and unable to connect. My sister passed away 6 years ago too. It's like after my whole adult life and getting involved in relationships with narcissists, but financially stable and independent, and now I'm not. It's the worst, right? To feel so helpless. It's, yeah, little steps to find your feet underneath you. Because right now you're in reaction, you're in a triggered reaction, you're having an emotional reaction, and then the reality of how life is hard is there too. So it can feel really overwhelming. So try and maybe bring yourself back into a calmer state. You do some meditation. Everything you're feeling is 100% valid and real. However, you don't have to live in that space only. Okay. Finding some ways to pull yourself back into the calmer, better things so that you can think a little, if that's possible. Self-care is all I can think of in that situation right now. Because it's like you go into crisis, right? It's like you're thrown into crisis mode. And once you're in crisis, you're overwhelmed and, can't make a decision or a thought from there. Okay, Angela says, when we have relied on the intellectual and it has worked, we can overvalue that. Yes. When we rely on our intellect and our insight, right? And our judgment, all of these. So this is this is where I come from. When I am coaching people and they tell me a story like I just did, but they'll say it obviously more in the moment, right? I'm talking and I'm laughing. It's not funny. It was horrible, right? It was, I dissociate easy, so I laugh. It's okay. But it was the most painful relationship of my life, the most painful. And it was entirely unnecessary for it to be so. That's what would completely floor me, right? Like, why is it so hard? It should be so easy, right? But what was my point here? Oh, so all of these things, the things that kept me there, all of these pieces that keep us there, the things that kept me there were my loyalty, my dedication to people, right? My empathy, my understanding. So the way my empathy works is I don't so much feel for other people. Like in my feelings, I understand other people. Does that make sense? And because of that, I understood. Of course, this has been hard for you. So therefore you act this way. You get defensive. You shut down. You have, this avoidant side of yourself that blah, 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 while the other side of you is this. It made sense. And so all of these things. So my point was, we all have something like that, right? That kept us, something that we then look at as like, well, it was my weakness. I shouldn't have done that. That's actually your strength. It's just not used right. It's not used and applied to the right situation. And so when I'm working with people, I see all of this stuff they say about themselves, well, I shouldn't have done this. And it's actually, so much of that is their strengths. And so therein lies a potential to use that in a better way for their lives. So does that make sense? Turning it around to something positive, at least. I don't know if that made sense. Anyway, E-Rock says, I feel stuck. It's a lot. I had to see them. I feel so obligated to take the abuse. Why do you feel obligated to take abuse? What do you think about that? What do you tell yourself? Why do you feel, what are the words you say to yourself? Because there's a belief there. That's something you can look at right now. Feeling obligated to take abuse. That's something you can find some perspective around that. Any sign of emotionality was immediately pathologized when I was a kid. I feel like I did when I was a kid. So wounded. Oh, okay. So you have to take their abuse. In other words, not take it, but you have to contain it for her. You have to contain her lack of empathy and accept it. Is that what you're saying? Shannon says, I'm loyal to a fault. I should have walked away after the first really bad comment, but it's like your brain is trying to process what is exactly happening. Well, exactly. And because all of the stuff we were talking about in the beginning, they are presenting you with a false personality, a false person. that's so hard to, that's the hardest part of breaking the trauma bond, is seeing who they really are. Once you see who they really are, in my opinion, much of the trauma bond falls off. Once you see it, accept it, fully own it, that's who they are. Own your own awareness of what you're seeing, instead of listening to all the parts that say, yeah, but, oh, but then this, but I understand because, you know, they had a hard childhood, and, you know, all of that stuff, all the justifying, all of the excuse making. Once we stop doing that and really see them, do you know how hard that is? We can't do that in the middle of it. You just can't. You just can't. You're already trauma bonded. It's so hard. Even when she told me that sounds like emotional abuse, 2 years, I stuck in. Okay. So, and I'm not stupid, and I'm not emotionally unintelligent. All right. I mean, I've gained a ton since then, obviously, but it's even though, okay. Yes, I think so. Exactly. So you're feeling like you need to hold her abusive behaviors within yourself because you have an obligation to. What would you rather feel instead of obligated to her abuse? Persiana, thank you for pointing out that what gets us in trouble is really a strength and not a weakness. It is, isn't it? When you look at it, just flip the perspective, see how you use it the rest of your life. It's the thing they're going after too, right? Often it's the gem inside you. Often. Okay, waiting for E-Rock to tell me what he'd write. He, she, I don't know if you're he or she, I can't see your picture. And I don't know what they are feeling about what they would rather feel. I'm just trying to give you a little perspective. I don't know. There's not much I can do. Obviously, I would come through the screen and give you a big hug if I could, but that won't work. So this is let's see. In exchange for their help, like a counter manipulation. Okay, yeah. It's tough to accept even we were abused. They are abusive. It is. It is. It is really tough to accept. Because I don't react. I didn't point out what they were doing. I felt like I was looking in dark eyes. My mother couldn't look at me, both my parents. So right now, you don't, what else can you do but gray rock it, really, right? It's the letting them in that's the hard part, right? That's it. What can you do for yourself right now to feel more like you felt before they came over? That's my question. I don't know you, so I don't know what your go-to mode of self-care might be. Does taking a walk help? Does clearing your head? Does talking to a friend? Does, I don't know. He was trying to triangulate me. I'm a guy. Okay. I thought so, but I can't see. It's like my eyes plus. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. What helps you? What helps you feel better? What helps you feel like yourself? And also, what's your personality type? Do you know? I'm curious. It helps me answer people when I know, because everybody reacts differently based on their type, in my opinion. Everyone reacts to abuse differently based on their type. And if you'll notice certain patterns with certain types, I guess INFJs tend to stick in and fight, but not fight, reason, understand, you know, and the ENFPs tend to roll over and crumble, in the sense of they'll take it and internally they're shrinking back inward, and they're extroverted people. So it sucks the life energy out of them and they become very reclusive. So it's really interesting how the different personality types handle the way the abuse hits. And then also what self-care helps that might help me. Do you know what you are? Crystal, I feel like I might almost be out of the trauma bond. Yes. I keep telling myself every day that this really did happen and what he is. That, oh, it's such a freeing feeling. I cannot tell you. That therein lies the indifference, that I don't care. I don't care what they think. I don't care what they say. And if they contacted me, I would not take them back. In fact, I would not even reply. That's where you're aiming, right? Just keep going. Whatever you're doing, keep doing it. Shannon, I really like fight, flight, freeze, and fawn. I froze a lot when he'd say crazy things. It's right. Angela's saying when you can't go no contact, it's confusing when you see the constant shifting of several people swapping masks. It makes you crazy. Yes. Space away and venting helps, like a boxer between the rounds. It watching that shifting. Uh-oh, now the dogs are going to bark. Hey, guys. Shh. Unless you got something to say about narcissists, unless it's the barking, right? Oh, no, I may have to end. Hey, guys. I know we got kids coming to the door when I told them up. You guys, shh. Hey, I'm working. I'm sorry. Let the litany of barking continue. They're silent until, okay. You guys, can you, yeah. And the children, it's the week, middle of the week when there's no school. Okay, anyway, here we go. Keep going. Wait, extroverts can be, extroverts, that's how they recharge. Did you know that? So many of them. So go, I'm glad you love dogs because now it was loud. All right. INFJ or INTJ. I don't know a whole lot about INTJs. INFJ is me. So, or it's my type. Yeah. So what helps? We're tricky. You can, let me think on it. So you tell me what makes you feel like you? What is one thing or two things that make you feel like you? Sometimes when we have this wasn't a trigger. This was what you had was not a trigger just now. What you had was a direct narcissistic experience, right? You had a re-traumatization that was real right in the moment. So it's important to come back into yourself, right? And to let them be outside of you. Because right now they're all up in you, right? They're in your head. So what helps you feel like you? Let's see. I'm a gay guy who was shamed and put into conversion therapy. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, honey. It's all come back. Maybe I could call a friend, walk my dog. I love her. Walk your dog first, I think. See, if you are an INFJ and you're like me, walking that dog will be very useful. And maybe text a friend while you're walking. That's what I like to do. and because it's getting in your head and out of your head at the same time, I think for us, allowing yourself space and time to think, and at the same time, not being so immersed in those emotions that are like swallowing you up. Something about movement with us, like more judging thinker types, even though we're super feelers, it just gets it moving. I don't know. I mean, I think everyone benefits from a nice walk, but that might be a benefit to you to do. You have a great dog. Yes. Okay. You feel enmeshed with them right now. Yes. In the way you hate. Yes. They're inside your head. They're in you right now. You can get them out, shake them out, move them out. They don't belong in there. Only good things belong in there. The parts that of you that are you belong in there. Let's keep these toxic people out. I love Myers-Briggs types, and I find it useful in real life too. Yeah, Crystal, I'd love it because it's really, you can't talk to everybody the same way. This isn't putting on a mask. Here's a difference. So a narcissist might put on a mask to talk to someone differently in order to manipulate the situation. They might mirror back, right? But somebody that is, why is that happening? Somebody that is trying to understand someone and relate to them where that person is coming from might have to shift the way they say something in order to be heard by that person. But that's not putting on a mask. That is deliberately and intentionally trying to meet that person in a place that person can relate to. Does that make sense? And for the benefit of the conversation to be flowing, not for a manipulative thing. I mean, what's it to me if he goes for a walk or not? If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But I'm saying, like, if we are, if the type thing is right, and if I am basing it on because I know that type because it's me, you know what I mean? Then, and every other one person that I know of that type tends to need motion, right? When they're processing. So if it works, it works. And if it doesn't, well, you got to walk, right? Okay. Anyway, that was a strange, okay. The beginning stages were difficult because he was still living with me, but he had found, oh, this is, you're talking to someone. Okay. All right. Any other questions? We're almost at an hour. Wow. Okay. What, says James? Yeah. Okay. So here's some interesting tidbits on personality types and self-care. When I asked people, and this is not scientific, this is my own mini research, really. It's not even that in-depth, okay? It's just people I know and people I've asked on SPAN with permission to use the information. What do they do? What is the most beneficial thing they can do for themselves in this form of self-care, and what's your personality type? The ENFPs across the board said they need to be alone, they need to space out. Not what you would think. And I have met ENFPs recently that freak out when they're not freak out, but they feel like something's wrong with them when they run off and be by themselves, when they isolate. But what's interesting is those that have self-care skills, that's what they do for self-care. So it's an interesting thing that they naturally do it, but without doing it with intent, it can feel really icky to them. So doing it with intent, though, oh, I'm totally going to go space out, you know, don't get in my bubble. That is useful, but it's an extroverted person that needs complete quiet and solitude in order to recharge when they are overwhelmed. Okay. Think of the mirroring and you'll see what an amazing person you are. What they show you is a sort of best version of yourself. Often true. Yep. That's why we fall for them. They're showing us a piece of something wonderful, which is you, right? Okay, it's part of it. No contact for over 5 months. Excellent. That's Seldridge. Yeah. Okay. Anything else? I'm trying to think of which other types. That's you got it. Well, how do I take the personality test again? Sorry, I'm a little spazzy right now. 16personalities.com is the easiest one that has it's like 5-minute test. I don't find yeah, anyway, it's the easiest one. There are some more that are more thorough, but I can't remember the links, so use that one. Okay, I'm seeing if there's anything I missed. Did I miss anything, James? Do you see anything? Okay, I don't think so. All right. Any other questions, you guys? I'm trying to think of the other types. I'm literally act out, shaking off dirt and stomping, and I do too, and shake my hands, get off, like that. Yep. You know, watch the Golden Girls. Excellent. Who's your favorite? Who's your favorite girl? I'm disarming a malignant narcissist. Good. Excellent. Let's see. It's 16personalities.com. I can't type in. James, if you're here, can you type it in? Oh, thank you, Crystal. That she got it. Without purpose, time alone is so hard. Have to tell myself this is for a reason. What do you mean without purpose? What are you talking about, Butterfly Mama? Without purpose, time alone is so hard. I have to tell myself this is for a reason. Tell me more. What's that? I don't understand. Meanwhile, I'm trying to think of what other personality types helped. What would they said about? So one thing with the INFP and the INFJs is that we tend to need people around when we're feeling that way, which is kind of weird, right? Being alone in nature is one thing that across the board, the empath types, the INFPs, INFJs, ISFPs, I mean, all kinds of empath types, but the more feeling centered types, especially, nature is important. It's important for all people, but really important in a different way. That those types, the INFPs and INFJs in particular, we need a friend. We need someone to tell us it's all right. We need the connection. It's sort of like going introverted at that point becomes overwhelming. And we are more, when we need to recharge in that way, in the way of self-care, we often need a mirror to bounce it off of, like a positive mirror, not a negative narcissistic mirror, but we need someone there to like hold it and bounce it back to us. It's kind of interesting. Whereas the ENFPs are like across the board. No, don't even talk to me when I'm in that mood. Just let me alone. Let me go in my bubble. Let me space out and I'll be happy in about a half hour, or an hour, whatever it takes. But anyway, imagine a big light shining down on you and surrounding you. The narcissist is not in that circle. Yes. Bubble. Create that bubble. That's right. Push them out. Use your breath to push out the negativity. If you want to get real into it, just breathe it in. Breathe in the light that she's talking about and breathe out the toxic experience that you had, and meditate with it a bit. That might help. Waiting for Butterfly Mama before I end here. Did you hear me, Butterfly Mama? What's going on? I don't understand the purpose. Why you don't feel you have purpose, or if that's what you're saying. Oh, here we go. Okay. Anyone find that when they let go of the first narcissist, that many fell off soon after? Yes. 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 I don't know about other people in here, but yes, across the board for most people, yes, things get shaken up and people fall off. You can't tolerate it anymore. Problem is our tolerance is too high. That's a lot of the problem of why we stick in. Is our tolerance is so high. And once we realize we don't have to have that high tolerance in fact, it's not a good thing for us. They start to fall off the radar because we can't tolerate it. Butterfly Mama says, I have a really hard time with being alone unless I tell myself it's for my recovery and good purpose. I get extremely sad and alone. What is your personality type as well? I don't remember. You have to remind me all the time, but I'll remember some point. And then I'll learn your real name and forget and have to do it all over again, right? Yes, that makes sense. Being alone is hard, especially for some of us. It is a place where you do have to often remind yourself it's for a good purpose. That extreme sadness, was it yesterday, this week? I talked about finding joy. Go watch that one and combine it with that sadness. Let the sadness be there and let the little joys you can find sort of fill the hole. Does that make sense? I think of it like, okay, if I'm this empty, what can I fill it with? Because it's pretty dang empty. There's a pretty big hole. INFP. Yeah, honey, INFPs and INFJs, part of the existence as those two types is we often feel very alone, no matter what. And we often feel unheard, misunderstood, and like we don't fit in. Okay, especially the J's, but the P's as well. It feels like that empty hole is huge, right? We don't have the extroverted nature to go out and like fill it with other people really fast and really easily. And in fact, it would make us uncomfortable. So it's a sort of this beautiful empty world. And I say it like that, but when you're in the state you're talking about, it feels horrible. Right? But start filling it with the joy if you can. Look for little bits of joy all day long, no matter what, and really take it in. Take in the experience in the moment. Like don't let the joys that you experience just pop away. Hold them for a second and remind yourself that you're filling all this emptiness with that. Okay? And sometimes that can get so big it's painful too. but it's okay. It's a better painful. Then you just want to like love everything, but that's okay. All right. I don't know if that helps or if that makes any sense. Go watch that other one about finding joy if you haven't watched that, and see if that gives you any ideas for what to do, because your time alone is not meaningless. It's super meaningful. Even if it's only an hour a day, even if it's minutes a day, for an INFP, alone time is essential. All right. So try and see that you're just having an extended version of that right now. Okay. And you're not alone either. You have lots of people here and support groups, and even if we don't talk for weeks, there's still connection, right? You know what I mean? Angela, did I miss something you said? I've done that twice and gotten different results. Angela, I am an INFX is what I came up with on a different site. If I remember, I'll put the link up here. I have to find it. That's the problem, because it was a little more thorough of the way it questioned. It's different kinds of questions that were easier to answer, or more concise to answer, I should say. And what that means is I sit 50-50 on the P and the J. And so maybe it's something like that for you too. And if that's the case, then you can read both and you can see where parts of your life fall under one and other parts fall under another. My interpersonal life is very INFP. My working and intuitive life, like the way I am when I pull back and I'm more distance, is very INFJ when I read the two types. So you may have something like that where you read both and see how it interplays with your life, because you can totally be both. You could totally be 50-50. There's nothing wrong with being split like that. I'm glad you enjoyed this live. This was a good one. Yeah. INTP and INFP. That's another one that I've seen. Yeah. You read the breakdown of the types. He's definitely more T, but his percentage is, yeah. And I'll bet in his interpersonal world, in his internal world, parts of him are very F. Like he's probably got big feeling. He just doesn't, the way he expresses it comes out more thinking. Does that make sense? That would be my guess. INFP, most of us are INFPs, INFJs, ENFPs, ENFJs, or ISFPs. There's other things too, but it's like super common. So yeah, with us, even though it's the lower percentage in the world. So interesting. You and the lovely people on this live makes sense. I will go back to it. I'm like, what's Yo-E? I want to go Yo-E. Okay. All right. Anything else today anybody needs help with or wants to talk about? Any ideas for next week? Any topics you guys want talked about? I'll go for it. I'll try and do more disclosure. Whoever asked, was that you, Angela? It was you. I'll try and do more. I appreciate you asking because it is important. I just don't like to sit and talk about it. Hi, let's talk about me for an hour. Wanna? No, not really. No one wants to hear that. A little bit's okay. So any other questions you have, even if they're personal ones, I will answer them and we'll keep going. If you have not subscribed and you enjoy this program, please subscribe. Hit the thumbs up if you enjoyed today's live stream, so I know the types of topics you guys like to talk about and what is useful and what is not for people. And if you would like to be notified of my going live, text me at 33222 and put the words Lise Live, LISE, in the subject or in the comment and send it. And you will be notified 5 to 10 minutes before live stream. And that is the only notification you'll get. So I think that's it. You guys have a good day. Take care. And I wish you the best. Goodbye.